Ladies and gentlemen, the new Battle Pass card for February has leaked. It is going to be M.O.D.O.K, a 5 energy, 8 stat card. We're going to take a look at its ability in just a moment. We're going to take a look at a couple of deck ideas and all those kinds of things. We can see the rest of the things here in the Battle Pass. You're going to be getting an Ant-Man variant, a Wasp variant, and this is of course because in February, the new Marvel film Ant-Man and the Quantumania is coming out in cinemas. So there's an Ant-Man card back, which looks really nice, an Hourglass card back, as well as a M.O.D.O.K variant, which you're going to be getting for hitting, I would imagine, rank 50 in the Battle Pass card, or level 50. 4 avatars as well, one to represent each of the characters, and a couple for the M.O.D.O.K for each variant. Let's take a look at what the card actually does, though. Is it any good? It's 5 energy, 8 stats, on reveal, discard your hand. Wow. That is pretty nuts. So this is going to be an absolute nightmare to be getting off of expansion. I'm sure you can agree. Discarding your whole hand on turn number 3 doesn't sound too fun. A good way of evaluating a card in Marvel Snap usually is you want to be getting the energy cost times 2. So if it's just a raw stat card, you would want 10 stats. So M.O.D.O.K, pretty hefty body at 8 stats with a potentially very powerful ability. So I do think this is a very good card. High risk, high reward. We can also see some of the other variants which have been found in the files and things like that. This is the one, the Assassin is the one from the Battle Pass card. There's a Pixel, a Baby, and then there is one by an artist here whose name I was going to attempt to pronounce, but I've decided not to because that would be a bit of a stinker. Quick little zoom in on some of the variants. Here's the level 50 one. Here's the Ant-Man one. This looks super nice. And the Wasp. This Wasp, I do believe, is the first Series 3 Battle Pass card that we're getting access to. So if you don't already have Wasp in your collection and you buy the Battle Pass, you will be able to just put this Wasp into your deck. Not going to change anything. You can still unlock the base card of the Wasp just as you usually would. But yes. Also, potentially a little spoiler, but in the Marvel Ant-Man trailer, which came out, fair warning, there is a little screenshot at one point of M.O.D.O.K. So, of course, it does look like he's going to be in the upcoming film. So, makes sense that he is going to be the Battle Pass card for this month. Let's take a little dive into the couple of decks I built. Certainly not optimized, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of some of the different synergies. So, of course, a very popular deck is a Lockjaw Apocalypse deck. I am a big fan of this deck. I really, really do like it. I think America Chavez gets a big shout out to me because you play M.O.D.O.K on 5, discard your whole hand. Even if you've got no real synergy in there, then at least you've got America Chavez as the top deck to be playing down on turn number 6. Of course, the problem with playing M.O.D.O.K with Lockjaw is if you go Lockjaw on 3 and then play a card into the Lockjaw lane and then you play your M.O.D.O.K, your whole hand suddenly disappears. So including cards like Swarm, Apocalypse, which is then going to be coming back. I also think Helicarrier, which is currently a Series 4 card, could get downgraded. We still don't know what's going on with that. If you're not familiar, it's a 10 stat card for 6 energy. When you discard this from your hand, add 3 random cards to your hand. So I think Helicarrier looks pretty nice with M.O.D.O.K in case you fire that M.O.D.O.K off too quickly. Also worth mentioning, Dracula could be a real problem in this deck because it might just hit nothing if you discard your whole hand and you don't have Apocalypse in hand, and then you're going to top deck Chavez and you've got a Dracula on the board. You have to play the Chavez and your Dracula plays for 0, or you just let your Dracula eat the Chavez. So Dracula could be a bit of a bait. Morbius, of course, is going to be a man on absolute steroids with M.O.D.O.K potentially. You could do some very interesting things with Wong as well with M.O.D.O.K, where if you've got cards like Swarm, Apocalypse, you can have a Wong and then M.O.D.O.K, the Wong lane, discarding your Apocalypse twice and all your Swarms twice. You could potentially build an all-in Swarm deck, which used to be a bit of a thing back in beta, where you can buff your Swarm up with cards like Okoye and Nakia. Nakia just got buffed by a point as well. So Nakia could buff the Swarm up to 5 points. Okoye puts the Swarm up to 6. And then you can discard it a whole bunch of times. And then your M.O.D.O.K could discard all of those Swarms even more times. And then on turn number 6, you could just play a whole bunch of 6-point Swarms into whichever lane you wish. So pretty interesting concepts with M.O.D.O.K. I would imagine it's still going to be good in a Lockjaw build. But of course, it could be pretty risky. Moving on to the Hela deck, where I think most people are going to be thinking it makes the most sense, but let's be honest, Hela is pretty garbage in my experience. I tried some just today. Black Cat just got buffed, that's why I included her in here. She's now 7 stats. It still hasn't updated on Marvel Snap Zone, but Black Cat is now 3 energy, 7 stats. You've got a couple of ways you can go with M.O.D.O.K in a Hela deck. One way is just slot it in and play all the other discards that you usually would. But the other logic that you could go for is that if you find your Invisible Woman, you find your M.O.D.O.K and you find your Hela, you don't actually need anything else. You just need to play enough cards to empty your hand, and then M.O.D.O.K discards your whole hand and Hela summons your whole hand to the board, basically. So you can just play 3 cards and win the game with this combo. But of course, the big problem with Invisible Woman is she gets absolutely destroyed by Cosmo. She gets completely destroyed by Enchantress. She gets destroyed by Aero. And all of these cards are, of course, incredibly common in Marvel Snap. So while this list looks like a lot of fun and the power ceiling is potentially through the roof, I don't think it's going to have a very high win rate. So from a competitive standpoint, I'm pretty sure that the way to go is going to be some kind of Apocalypse and Swarm deck. Maybe you end up cutting the Lockjaw, but in fairness, getting an 8-point card off of Lockjaw is not too shabby. That's also the other thing worth mentioning with M.O.D.O.K in Hela, is the fact that if you just play a more traditional Hela deck where you still play your Death, your Lady Sif, and a few more discard cards, actually discarding this M.O.D.O.K is going to be pretty nice because you're still summoning an 8-point body to the board. So you can certainly just go a more traditional Hela route. I just wanted to point out the fact that this particular build has way less discards than usual. Often you don't play Morbius, but with M.O.D.O.K discarding your whole hand, it could. I also think there's a pretty strong argument to play Chavez, just so you've got that top deck card if you do end up playing the M.O.D.O.K, for example, on turn number 5. But I would wager you probably just don't want to play it, right? So yeah, they're the 2 decks that I built, a few deck ideas. What do you guys think about this season pass, this battle pass? I, for one, am very happy that M.O.D.O.K is not a complete meta-defining card, to be completely honest. Silver Surfer was way too strong. Zabu is absolutely bonkers strong and far too much for me. So the fact that there's going to be a fun card to build around, but it's not just going to be a complete meta definer where everyone's building decks to counter this one card, and if you don't want to buy it, then you don't feel like you're behind the power curve. That's a big positive. The cosmetics are looking fantastic in this one. The card design does look like a lot of fun. Let me know in the comments below if there's any particular synergies which you are looking forward to. Morbius definitely looks like a lot of fun for me, and I think also building an all-in Swarm deck now looks like a much more serious potential thing. Dracula, of course, with Apocalypse can be cool. I think Helicarrier should come into its own with this one as well. And any card like M.O.D.O.K which synergizes with America Chavez is a bit of a win for me. Again, you're going to discard your whole hand, so to have that guaranteed top deck with America Chavez is going to be really nice. And a lot of you will know America Chavez, my favorite card in the game. She's increasing the odds of you drawing all your combo cards nice and early. So I'm certainly going to be experimenting with M.O.D.O.K. He's not going to make the cut, I would imagine, in any deck which is not all in on discard, but there's certainly some new potential synergies which this card can open up. Like I say, all in Swarm. Hela, I still think is just always going to be bad, but maybe it can give a new lease of life to this Lockjaw Apocalypse deck. And yeah, Helicarrier as well, I think is going to be a card which is certainly one to look out for. I hope you guys did enjoy this video covering M.O.D.O.K, the new Battle Pass card. Big shout out to the guys that have done the work, the data mining, and shared it with the community. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. See you on the next one.